Welcome to Aligned and Unfiltered. This is the podcast where we speak honestly about what it really takes to build a life that aligns with the future version of you, the one that you keep saying that you're going to be. I will give you self-help hacks and tools to be able to bridge the gap from where you are to where you want to be. Let's get started. Hello and welcome back to Aligned and Unfiltered. I am so glad to have you here. Whether or not you are listening or watching, thank you for being here. Today's episode is a very exciting one and a very special one that I know that many of you are going to find so much value in. I am going to be speaking to Natalie, who is a money savvy expert for expats. Welcome, Natalie.
Thanks so much for having me.
I am so glad to have you here. I'm so excited. So Natalie and I have known each other for a very long time, but in the last year, Natalie's life has transformed and changed in a very, very big way. And you have gone from being a full-time teacher to then being self-employed.
Yeah.
And that is a huge jump.
Yeah.
A huge jump, because it's also something that I know many, many teachers who obviously, so living in Dubai, for example, if you don't live in Dubai and you don't know, teaching is a massive job over here.
Yeah.
It's like a huge industry here.
Yeah, a lot of people move over here for teaching. They stay for a long time. It's a good package.
Yes.
It's quite easy for teachers to relocate here as well. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of us.
Yeah, there is. And there's a lot of schools here. It's a really good life, I believe, here as a teacher. And I think that so many people that I know want to come out of teaching, but they are so scared to do that, especially living here, because you have such a good package here. To be able to walk away from is very, very difficult. But that is something that you've done and have amazing experience in. So I'm really excited for everybody to learn all about that today. So first things first, give us a little bit of a background on you and kind of how the last few years have looked.
Okay, so I'm from Manchester.
Yeah.
As are you.
Yeah.
And I moved to Dubai in 2017 as a teacher. Before that, I was working in banking. So I worked for a very established bank in the UK from being about 16 till I was about 25. I worked in debt resolution. I was a supervisor there. So helping individuals and families navigate their way out of debt. And then I thought, right, I don't want to do that anymore. So the office life is not for me. I trained as a teacher. And I was still working in banking part-time. It was a very busy time of life. And then trained as a teacher. I taught in the UK for a year, and then I moved to Dubai in 2017. Was teaching all the way up until last year. So I was in the same school for 8 years. Just decided that I am a bit jumpy as a person. Like I always like to try new things. Like you said earlier, it is difficult to go from teaching, especially here. You're going to think about your visa, your health insurance, all those things. It's been quite a journey. I've tried different methods of trying to get out of it, which we can go into later if you want. Over the past year, so I left teaching last summer. This past year has been amazing, hard, challenging, but I am so happy that I took that leap and made that jump because my life has literally transformed. So
could you imagine now, like if you now got a chance to speak to you a year ago, what do you think the you a year ago would think?
Me a year ago I was very ready for the change. So I knew it, because as a teacher, you have to hand in a term's notice. So I'd handed notice in February, March time. My business had just launched in February, but it was doing very well for the stage that it was at. So I was like, if I don't do this now, if I don't hand my notice in now, it's going to be another academic year after this of juggling both. Like teaching and having a business it's unmanageable sometimes. It's very stressful because you're trying to do both. And I'm the type of person that I want to do a really good job at everything. So I will work myself to the bone to make sure that happens. Yeah, when I made that decision to hand in my notice, I thought, right, now is the time. If I don't do this now, then it'll be another year and I just don't know if I've got that in me anymore. Last term, the summer term, was a lot of, I was saving a lot of money, I was working a lot, and it was just to very much get my head down, get this done. Even though I knew it was the right choice, there was still a big part of me that was scared and thinking, well, what's going to happen? Is this going to work out? Is it not? But I just got to a point where I thought, if I don't try, then staying, I know it's a cliche saying now, but it's scarier to not do anything, to not make that choice, to not make the jump. So I thought, what's the worst that's going to happen? And now here I am.
I think what's a really interesting point to that story as well that you didn't touch on is
you did that without any financial security from anyone else.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it's not like you had a backup.
No.
Like, you literally just went for it.
Yeah.
And that's something that's so, inspiring, because so many people will be listening to this or watching it and thinking, well, that's okay because maybe she had a husband, or maybe she had,
Yeah, I know.
somebody else to like fall back on, but you
Still
didn't.
looking for the rich husband. No,
But the
and
fact
this
that you
is,
did that, all
yeah.
on your own backing is huge.
Yeah, and this is the thing is, when you see, and I'm sure people that are interested in starting their own business or entrepreneurship will see a lot of the same reels online that you and I see, where it's just quit your job and start the business. And like, that's really nice, but practically that doesn't work sometimes, especially if you're on your own, especially if even people that are married and got kids, you've got your kids to think about, tuition fees, mortgage, whatever. And this is part of the reason why I started the business is I couldn't have made the choices I made if I didn't have my own financial security, if I didn't believe in my knowledge around money and my skills with money, if I hadn't put the work in beforehand to make sure I had savings so that I could do that. And that's a lot of what the business is giving women a choice and just allowing women to have that financial security, financial backing, know what they're doing with the money so that they can make choices.
Yeah, that's incredible. It really is. Like, it's such an amazing thing to be able to have done, and just be able to say that you've done, and so many people are going to be able to value from that experience and feel like they can do the same thing.
Yeah.
And that's amazing that now you get to teach other people how to do that same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the thing as well. What I've done going out of teaching, it's very, like I said earlier, it's scary and it's challenging, but it is possible. But also don't go into it with rose tinted glasses thinking, oh yeah, it's going to be so easy. I mean, to be honest, I think my journey was, I probably took the most difficult route possible. I had another business before this one. But it is possible and you can do it. You just need to make sure you've got all your ducks in a row first before you make that jump.
And what was the moment for you that you were like, something's got to change? Like, teaching's just not cutting it for me anymore. Like, what was that kind of turning point for you?
It was probably just after COVID. So I was here during COVID and we were teaching online, and I had a leadership position, and I did love teaching, and I was good at it. And there are still parts of me now, like when the schools were on distance learning recently, I was working from my friend's apartment with her, and I heard her, on Zooms with her class, and I thought, oh, I do miss having a class sometimes. But for me, it was, I always like to progress. I always like to develop. And I never wanted to develop in education. I never wanted to be an assistant head. I never wanted to be a principal. So it got to a point where I've been a teacher, I've been in a leadership position, and I wasn't really enjoying that. And I thought, right, so what's next? But this is how I've been my whole life. What's next? What's next? What's next? And then from that point, which was probably 2021, I thought, right, I need to make a change.
And obviously, so something that I know you touched on before, so you did have another business on the side before as well, quite a few years ago. Was that after COVID?
Yeah.
Right, okay.
So I'd made that decision where, what can I do? And I thought, I want to work for myself. It was very much Diary of a CEO time when everyone was learning who Stephen Bartlett was. And I was like, okay, let me try this. So I started a fashion e-commerce business for inclusive fashion. So I wanted to make a business that was, ranging from sizes UK up to UK 20. I had never run a business before. I went into this thinking I'd done all the research, and you'll probably resonate with this as well about starting a business. You think you've done all the research you need to do, and then you do it and you're like, oh, I didn't know about this.
So many things crop up that you just never would have thought of.
Exactly. So I had this fashion e-commerce business, and then I realized after I'd started that was not my ticket out. Having a product-based business, especially in Dubai, is very expensive. You've got to import things, pay those fees, store them, delivery. And I was doing all the marketing myself, the website. I mean, I learned so much. It was such a valuable lesson. Very stressful, very expensive, but valuable lesson. And it's definitely helped me with the business that I have now. And it's helped me money-wise as well, like business expenses, managing that. So it's given me good experience. But it was not, any money that I made from that business was going back into it. And I wasn't getting enough profit from it so that I could leave teaching and work for myself full time. And I decided then, right, this isn't working. My priority now is more of a personal priority of like, I want to have this flexible life, can get up in the morning, go to the gym, walk the dog. That was the dream.
Yeah.
And I thought, right, I need to do something else.
Yeah.
So it's been a bit of a journey.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because I think, especially like obviously on this podcast, we speak a lot about aligning yourself with the future version of you. And what you've said so clearly there is like you literally wanted to wake up, go to the gym, and be able to walk your dog.
Yeah.
Like they're quite simple things, aren't they?
Yeah.
But a lot of us actually don't have that luxury.
Yeah.
And that is actually, you know, something that people want to do and visualize doing. And that's something that obviously you did. And
Yeah.
then you've created now this life where you can do that every day if you want to.
Yeah.
Which is so amazing.
That was the main driver. It was just because if anyone's listening and they are a teacher, they'll know those mornings are a killer.
Yeah.
And I still get up early. I still get up at 6. I go to the gym for 6:30, and then I walk the dog, and then I get ready, and it's, you know, very, very lovely. But I do work hard all for the rest of the day.
Yeah.
But for me, like I had a birth chart reading not that long ago, probably last year, and I'm a Taurus. And she, the lady who did the reading, Candice, I don't know if you know Candice, she said, okay, so like this rich life, what do you want? And I said, just want to get up in the morning and walk my dog. And she's like, that is the most Taurus thing I've ever heard.
Really?
I was like, well, that's all I want.
Yeah.
And now I have it. So yeah, it's definitely just being aware of like what is important to you. If you are thinking about starting a business or leaving teaching or whatever, like why do you want to do that? What is going to make your life better?
Yeah.
Why do you need to make that change?
Yeah, because like you said, I think especially in Dubai, teachers have it is very, very hard. It's a hard job wherever you are in the world, but here is so early. Like Andy, my husband, he will literally wake up at 5:30 every day, and he's waking up at 5:30 now. He used to be getting up at 5. He's only just started to like push it back a bit and like, you know, push the boundary a little bit by getting up a bit later. And then he's not home till like 4:34, and then it's straight into routine with the girls, and like he doesn't have any time for himself.
Yeah.
So for you in that same life, like you really don't get much chance for yourself.
Yeah.
So I can see why you and so many people who are going to be listening to this thinking that they would like to try and find an out.
Yeah.
But so many people do think that they don't have an out.
Yeah.
And so many people do.
Yeah, it's definitely possible. Like I said, my journey of starting an e-commerce business and then having this business, I chose a tricky route out. It can be so much easier. Last year, when I'd quit teaching, I kind of fell into recruitment work. Networking is everything in Dubai. I met this lady, absolutely lovely. She said, do you want to do some freelance recruitment work? I think you might be quite good at it. And I said, yeah, okay. And it was, you know, I had my own visa through the business. It was commission only. And then I was doing some freelance recruitment work for her, which was, you know, very lucrative when the deals came in. And that kind of worked alongside the business. And I've got a different job now, which is also in recruitment, which was an opportunity I couldn't pass up, which I kind of fell into. For people that are still in teaching and wanting to leave and do something else, what my main takeaway is from my journey is, and what I've learned through recruitment work as well, learn a skill or think about what skill you're already good at. And whether you go and start a business with this or whether you go and work in this industry, it doesn't really matter if your priority is shifting careers. What are you good at, or what can you learn to be good at that you can transfer over to? And maybe you have to take a pay cut for a little bit. That's just how the world works.
Yeah.
And then you can work yourself back up when you get that. But yeah, just thinking about who do you know, what industries interest you, and how can you make this work for yourself?
I always think it's whatever you're good at. Like if you're good at something, then you're going to feel good about it.
Yeah.
You're going to enjoy doing it. And you can really create a business and a life that revolves around that.
Yeah.
You know, if you're good at Pilates and you love like being sociable and being around people, could you be a Pilates instructor? Could you own an app and teach people that way and do it online? It doesn't have to be face to face.
Yeah.
And the world now is so amazing that you can work so much solely online. And obviously the business that you've created is predominantly online as well. So having something that is completely online is so available to us now as well. So if you are somebody who is a teacher, for example, or in a job where you feel like you want to come away from it, knowing that is really important.
Yeah.
But what I want to also then ask you is, what exactly is your business now that you have created?
So my business is I deliver personal finance coaching to women and workplace teams as well. So I do some corporate workshops as well. So I have two ways that I work with people. I either work with people on a one-on-one basis, because with it being money, some people feel more comfortable doing that and want that one-on-one attention. And I am now pleased to say I am full capacity for
Wow,
one-on-one
that's
clients, which is
amazing.
amazing. And I also have an online membership as well, which is video content, A to Z of sorting your money stuff out. So it goes from mindset, budgeting, debt, how to save and stick to it. And then there's a massive chunk on investments, which is the way that people build serious wealth over time. So yeah, so I've built a business that is scalable. It's because it's online. And when people join the membership, I wanted to create something where it's not just you join and you watch these videos. There's also monthly Zooms, and they get to join a community where they can write questions every day and things like that. So I wanted to create something that was scalable for me from a business point of view, but also affordable for people too.
Yeah.
And something that will genuinely help them.
I also feel like what you've created makes women fall in love with money again and not always feel like it's a negative and not always hardship around money. And actually you've turned it into like, no, you can be in control of your money and you can, create more money for yourself by doing these things. And that's a really incredible thing to be able to do. It's giving people that freedom and flexibility, and just, I think as well, educating women on money, because so many of us grow up and we have these beliefs that have been put in our brain from being a child, and we've just carried them on for the rest of our lives, and a lot of us aren't even aware of that.
Yeah. It's really interesting to see how your upbringing, your family, etc., like you just said, there is a massive impact on how your childhood and what your experiences were then have a massive impact on how you are with money now, whether that is how you look at money, how you behave with it, or your own inner beliefs of what you can achieve are all affected by what happened in the past.
Yeah.
And from my perspective now in coaching, it's interesting for me to see as well, like all the clients that I have such different relationships with money. And I think as well, obviously, I'm in a privileged position of getting to work with these people. So I get those insights, but you have no idea what your best friend thinks about money, really.
Yeah.
Like, no one really talks about it. So it's really interesting work. And it's what I love about what I do is finding the block, like what is the blockage for individuals? Like what do they need to get over? How can I help them get around that? Because if someone's struggling to save or struggling to invest or struggling to pay off debt, there's always a reason for it. So I really enjoy that part of the work, which is figuring out why. And yes, some of it comes down to mindset, but also the practical side of it as well. And just seeing the results after and how their view of money is so different. So they go from being worried about it, scared, avoiding it, to, oh, this is great. Look at my savings pot increase. Oh, look, I made my first investment. Oh, look, it went down, but it's okay. And now it's going up again. And it's just really, really nice to see that journey.
And you speak openly about being in debt before.
Yeah.
So how did that feel for you when you were in debt? And how have you kind of transpired from that process to where you are now?
So, like I said earlier, I used to work in debt resolution. So I had 9 years of working for an established bank in the UK, which was helping people get out of debt. So when it happened to me, I was a bit like, oh, this wasn't supposed to happen to me.
Yeah, that's very full circle.
Yeah. But the reason I got the debt, so it was 70k dirhams, so 14 grand.
Yeah.
And that was from the fashion e-commerce business that I had.
Right.
So that's kind of how that spiraled, where I was importing stuff. And like I said earlier, I've learned so many lessons from that business, which has definitely helped me now with what I do now. But I've always, because of the work that I used to do, known I can be quite strict with myself with money. I know how to organize things so I can pay it off quickly. But being in that debt, I really struggled with it because it was something that would be on my mind all the time.
Really?
Yeah. Because I'd never had that much debt before. And even though when I thought about it logically, I sat down and I made a plan and I was like, right, it'll be paid off by X date. This will be fine.
Yeah.
there was still the emotion of it there where it would creep up in my head, like, you shouldn't have this, you just shouldn't have this. And then it got to a point where I was like, you just need to forgive yourself, just let it go. Because it's, I made that choice. I made that choice to try and make that business work. It didn't happen. These are the consequences now. And I think going back to when we were talking about people starting a business, like, there may be debt.
Yeah.
So
Of course.
there probably will be debt.
Yeah.
So you just have to accept that is part of it. Everything's a learning curve and you move on. So for me, when I had that much debt, it came down to, right, just sit down, make a plan. What are you going to do? And then it all got paid off. But this is what I always say to people as well. There's two sides to money. There's the practical side, interest rates, income, how much you make, how much you spend, how much you save, how much you invest. That's the practicality of it. But there's also the emotions. And sometimes it's the emotions that make money much harder to deal with. Because money is, I always say, money is just maths. That's all it is. It's easy. Well, but it's the emotions that make it difficult.
Yeah, it's so true. I think a lot of people that, I know who've been in serious debt, like you say, there's so much emotion attached to that. It's not just a figure of, well, I have this amount that I need to pay back. It's the emotion that's attached to it. It's the shame sometimes, which I'm not saying that there should be shame attached to debt at all, because I don't believe there is. Because like you said, if you had never have tried, you wouldn't be where you are now.
Yeah.
So you had to try, and the debt came with that, but so what? The lessons were so much better.
Yeah, exactly.
So it worked out fine in the end. And sometimes you do have to accept that debt might come with trying those things.
Yeah.
And most people will have been in debt. Even people who would sit here and say they're not in debt. Well, you have a mortgage on your house, that's debt,
debt,
it's money that you owe to a bank. So it's the same kind of thing. Like a lot of us actually owe money, but we don't realize it necessarily because it's not a bailiff knocking on our door.
You're right. Like, there shouldn't be shame attached to it. Sometimes life comes at you fast and things happen, and sometimes it is because you've wanted to go and spend 5,000 dirhams in Zara. Sometimes it is because you've got a failed business. But if it's something that is bothering you and bogging you down and you feel like there's no escape, what I would say to someone in that situation is, right, you need to stop burying your head in the sand, right? Look at it. Like, what is the balance? What is the interest rate? And then just be honest with yourself and make a plan from there. How much can you afford? Like, what other options do you have as well? Like, if it's all on a credit card with high interest, paying the minimum balance isn't going to make it go anywhere. The minimum payment, sorry. So look at your alternatives. How can you reduce that interest rate? Face it head on. You'll feel so much better when you have got a plan in place.
So if somebody is listening to this who's struggling with debt, would you say to them to seek advice from someone professional? Would you just say they need to speak to someone, just get it out there, like you say, focus it head on? Would the first step be admitting it or speaking to someone about it?
Well, everyone's different. Like I said, all my clients, their relationships with money are so different. Some people might see talking to someone as a massive barrier. If I sat there and said, the first thing you should do is go and confess to whoever it is, that might be a massive blocker for someone.
Right.
Whereas somebody else, if you've got someone in your life that you trust who you think could help you, who's maybe someone that's very, Excel spreadsheet savvy, or, and you could go to them and say, look, I've got this problem. Can you help me? It's someone you trust. And you, for some reason, cannot do this yourself because it's too hard for you to do. It's too difficult for you to deal with. Then go and speak to someone.
Yeah.
But if you yourself are somebody that can, look at the numbers, I would say just give yourself an afternoon, have a glass of wine, make it a nice experience, put a candle on and just try and make it as less intimidating as possible.
I find I have this like routine now that I've got myself into. Every Monday I sit down and I pay off my credit card for the week. So I know exactly where I'm at each week. And when I first started doing that, I remember sitting there and working it all out and thinking like, gosh, spent quite a lot in a week, but this credit card is like between me, between Andy, between our household, like there's a lot of different moving parts that go into this one card, for example. And I remember at first I would sit down and work this out and I'd find it like a daunting thing and I'd put it off. And then now I'm like, no, I'll be excited to do it because once I've done it, it's like a check in my
it's done.
list, you know?
Yeah.
And I think, like you've just said, turn it into a positive experience and stop turning it into a negative experience. It doesn't have to be that way.
Yeah.
And it can be positive. It can be something that actually just moves you closer to where it is that you want to be.
Yeah. And I think as well, adding to that is make it an enjoyable experience, but also, you know, put something in place that gives you a little dopamine hit when you do it. So
Yeah,
say
it's a good
you've
idea.
got debt and you're trying to pay it off. Like, paying off debt is so boring. It's so boring. Nobody wants to do it. Let's say you made yourself a nice, whether you printed it off, put it on the fridge, like a tracker for yourself, where you see that balance physically going down and you can see the journey where, you know, 6 months ago it was at, I don't know, 20K and now it's at 13K, where you can see it come down. That's going to give you so much pride. And the same for if you're trying to save as well, like whether it is on an Excel sheet or an app or something you print off or in your journal, have a tracker available that you can see, like, oh, in May I had this much, in June I have this much, in July I have this much, and you can see it grow because it's just going to make you, it's just going to spur you on to keep doing it.
That's such a nice way of looking at it. And I feel like as well, where you said about putting it on your fridge, stereotypically putting something on your fridge is like, you know, it's a pride of place. Like in England, you'd put a kid's drawing on a fridge, like something would go nicely on there.
Yeah.
So to put something like that on there, and it's a place that you know you're going to see it every day, but it makes you feel good about what you're doing.
Yeah.
Like it makes you feel proud. That's such a really good tip.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. So in Dubai, obviously, we have no income tax currently. Touch wood.
Keep it that way, please.
no income tax currently. So why do you feel like, specifically in Dubai, so many expats feel like they're still chasing their tail financially and they do struggle to get ahead?
I think there's a few reasons, because there's lots of nice things. There's so many nice things and there's so many nice things to do. Dubai has got so much to offer. There's always something going on that you don't want to say no to. And I feel like we're all kind of with the same mentality of, oh yeah, let's go here, let's go there. So, and I think when I compare my friends here to my friends in the UK, like my friends in the UK, they barely really spend time together.
My friends are the same, yeah.
Yeah.
They literally sent a message the other day and they were like, we have not seen each other in ages. And I was like, why are you guys not seeing each other? You live down the road to each other.
Yeah, exactly. My friends at home in the WhatsApp group the other day, they were trying to make a time to see each other. It's now, what are we in May?
Yes.
September.
Yeah.
I was like, no, come on, guys.
Whereas here, I could text someone today and say, do you want to go for dinner on Friday? And they'd be like, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
It's so different.
And this is why we're all chasing our tails.
Yeah, that is so true.
I think it's because there's so many things to do. There's so many nice things to do. You know, we do have a lovely life. I really love living here. I've been here for a long time. You have as well. Like, I can't imagine living anywhere else right now. But it's also very easy to spend. And I don't know if you felt like this when you moved, because of the exchange rate. Because it's so different. When I first got here in 2017, and I was 27 when I moved, I just felt like it was monopoly money.
Absolutely.
I was just like, oh yeah, 200 and fine, whatever. What's that? 40 quid.
I did an episode on this recently because for the first 2 years, I was just spend. And I didn't save anything for 2 years and being here. And I wouldn't say I was on like particularly amazing money anyway in that first couple of years. I was kind of like building my career up from zero anyway. But I absolutely could have been putting money away.
Yeah.
And also that was a time when Dubai was so much cheaper.
Yeah.
You know, as a girl going out, I mean, this is a whole different conversation, but like the ladies' nights in Dubai, we were drinking for free.
Did you see they're bringing back the Pier 7 one?
No way.
Yeah.
Oh my God, yeah. So places like that, Pier 7, Down Anchor, we were drinking for free like through the week. So I absolutely could have been putting money away in that first couple of years of being here, but I didn't because like you just said, I couldn't say no to going out. I didn't know how long I was going to live here for, so I was just living for the moment. I was so excited. There's so much more available to me here than I had at home.
Yeah.
And why do you want to say no? Like, I didn't want to stay I lived in a bit of a shitty apartment. I didn't want to stay in my shitty apartment. I wanted to go to a beach club. I wanted to, you know, experience things. So yeah, I can imagine that is a big part of why expats are chasing their tail a lot.
Yeah. And like you said, especially for people that haven't been here that long, where you might have been here a year or two, you're thinking, well, I don't know how long I'm going to live here. I want to experience it. And I get that. But you also need to see it as an opportunity where if you're not going to live here forever, then this is an opportunity to save some of the money that you're making here. And I'm very much a big believer of, I like to go out. I like to buy nice things. I like to enjoy my life. But I also like looking after my future self as well, which is, everything that I work on with my clients. And it's just finding that balance between, yes, enjoy yourself. Don't, if you're a single 25-year-old in Dubai, you're not going to stay in all the time. Yeah. But just finding that balance that works for you so that you can still save a bit of money, but also enjoy your life. And this is something that I always tell people to do, is decide what is important to you. What do you actually love to do? If it's Pilates or whatever, right? Okay, so you want to spend X amount on Pilates every month, that's absolutely fine. But if you're constantly spending more than you earn, something else has got to give. So decide, what is it that needs to give?
Yeah.
Because like I said earlier, money is maths, it's numbers. So if you want to spend here, then where can you cut back here?
Absolutely, yeah. And one of the things that I loved was you came to the salon and did a workshop with the girls that work here.
Yeah.
And that was really informative for all of us. Like, we all had a light bulb moment at a different point in the workshop that you did. But the part for me that really stuck out, and I know it was very similar for the rest of the girls and something that we've all continued doing since, was how to divide your income when it comes in.
Yeah.
So could you explain to everybody a really good way that you can simply break down your income when it comes in to be able to feel on top of it?
Yeah, so there is a guideline called the 50-30-20 rule. Now, this won't work for everyone, but if you are starting from scratch and you're thinking, right, I don't know how to allocate my money, the 50-30-20 rule says that 50% of your income goes towards your needs. So that's your bills, your rent, your mortgage, DIY, whatever. 30% goes towards wants, that's having a lovely time, and 20% towards savings. So that will be debt and savings. Now, if someone's got quite a lot of debt and they want to pay that off, you might increase that 20% and take from somewhere else. Yeah, I would say if somebody's starting from scratch, just look at, okay, say I made 20,000 dirhams a month, 10 of that would be going on my needs, and then the rest would be allocated percentage-wise towards whatever your priority is at that time.
Yeah.
And with that as well, it's very hard to organize money when you have one account.
Yes.
So if you get your salary paid into one bank account, how on earth are you supposed to navigate what is supposed to be used on bills, what is supposed to be used on having a lovely time and going out? Having separate accounts, or some accounts have separate pots where you can move things around, and just organizing the money first of all, that's a key first step. Work out what your bills are. How much do you spend on DIY and internet and phone? Like, that needs to be in one account. The rest of it is for your fun. The rest of it is going to your savings, debt, or investment.
And you speak a lot about having a sinking fund as well.
Yeah.
So what would you describe a sinking fund as?
So a sinking fund is a savings account, but it's for the short term. It's for the stuff that is coming up. So my sinking fund has my hair appointments.
Yeah.
Has my Botox appointments, my flights home, my holidays. So what I do is, let's say I knew I wanted to book a flight to the UK twice a year. I'm just going to round it up to 10,000 dirhams for 2 return trips. So I would take that 10,000 dirhams, divide it by 12, and then that amount I will put into a sinking fund, so that by the time it comes round to May, June, whenever I want to book that flight, I've got that money. I've been putting a little bit away every single month to make sure it is there. And it's the same with like beauty treatments. That can be quite expensive in Dubai. If you know how much it is that you spend on it, instead of it getting to September and you're thinking, oh, I need to pay for my laser, my package just ran out. Well, if you put a little bit away every month, it doesn't feel like it stings as much when it's coming out of 1 month's salary. So that's what I would suggest.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like that's such valuable information as well, because it is really simple to do. And it doesn't actually matter what you're earning either, because we're talking in percentages.
Yeah.
So even if you're earning 10,000 dirham, then it's just quite simple. You put 5,000 away for, like you've said, your bills and everything, and then you've got the rest there to either play with and put away for your savings or your debts, investments, whatever it will be. And I think that a lot of people will find a lot of value in that as well. And like I say, I definitely have. So when people's income isn't as consistent, how would you suggest managing the money when it's not as consistent? Would you still say stick to that rule? Would you try and work out an average?
So I've been doing corporate workshops with real estate companies recently. You know, with real estate agents, this is very common. A lot of them are on commission only. So when I was doing those workshops with them, and I feel like it's not just in real estate as well. I feel like this happens with quite a lot of people. And I was experiencing it myself last year, where my income was my business and the commission I was getting from the recruitment work. It's about knowing what your bottom line is, first of all. Like, your bills are pretty much fixed. You know how much your rent is. You know how much your bills are to an extent. It doesn't massively fluctuate. So you need to figure out, okay, what is my survival number? How much do I need to survive to put petrol in the car, pay for the car, whatever? Okay. Have that number written down somewhere. I've got a free budget tracker that people can use if they want to download it from my Instagram, whatever. Use whatever you want, an app, a spreadsheet, whatever. And then from there, any money you make on top of that needs to be allocated to whatever it is you're working towards. So you've got your bills money, you know exactly what that number is, what you need to survive. And then the rest of it, you can split that into percentages based on what it is that you want to do with it. So if you're somebody who might be saving for a property, you're going to be putting a lot of money away into savings. So you think, right, let's say the survival number was 15 and I've made 35k this month. That means you've got 20k after your bills to allocate elsewhere. So you think, right, okay, I'm going to put, if you're on a hard save, 15k into savings, 5k into whatever. But that will look different for everybody else.
Of course, yeah.
Everybody's different depending on what their goals are.
Yeah, of course. And I find that as well, like you said then, it's not just in the real estate industry. There is a lot of that in Dubai where people's salaries do fluctuate. You know, obviously, speaking from a salon's perspective, a lot of people work on commission and they could have 1 month where they're going on holiday, so they might not be earning as much. They're not getting paid. And then they could be having 1 month where they're in full time and they're fully booked and they're like, feel rich, and then when they get paid from that month they could just blow it, but then the next month they're going on holiday and they're like, oh no. And the same with what's just happened recently in Dubai, like for real estate especially, they've gone from earning like these huge salaries to then probably a massive dip, and that came out of nowhere as well. So I think, would you recommend in those scenarios to always have, like, I don't like calling it a rainy day fund because I don't believe it should be seen as something like negative like that. Yeah, a sunny day fund. So do you recommend for people to always have that kind of backup?
Yeah, I mean, whether you are, you know, learning more about personal finance or just trying to improve your situation, if you did any research online about personal finance, it's generally create an emergency fund before you start investing, whatever. Now, I can't say that's what you have to do, but generally when you research stuff about this online, that's what is suggested. So an emergency fund is, depending on your situation, 3 to 6 months worth of expenses. So if you're someone who's self-employed or commission only, you want to be looking more at that 6 months worth of expenses mark. If you're full-time employed, you might look at the 3 months, but whatever anybody wants to do. In an emergency fund or a sunny day fund, it just alleviates the pressure if anything goes wrong, whether it's a dip in income or circumstances change. If you've got that put away, and when I say expenses, I don't mean income. So when I say 6 months of expenses, I mean 6 months of your survival number, what you need to get by, and have that away in a high interest savings account ready for if you need it. The issue then is nobody ever wants to spend the emergency fund. So, you know, like if something goes wrong with your car, you can use it for that. You can use it for just emergencies. But then if something does go wrong with your car, you think, oh, I don't want to spend that money because I've saved it all. But that's what it's for. And you just got to remember that that's what it's for.
So you've obviously gone from being in debt and experiencing all of that to then now investing and having a completely different relationship with money.
Yeah.
So what kind of was the biggest thing that you've had to change to be able to make that possible?
So for me, it's not been linear, as in I had that e-commerce business, I went into debt, and then I started learning about money and investing. I've always had the mindset around investing. When I was in the UK, I don't come from a very wealthy family, but my dad's very smart and he's always taught himself everything that he needs to know. So my dad would say to me, you know, let me put some money aside for you. And then he would take some money out of my salary and he would put it away. And I was a bit like, I don't even know where that's going, but I trust my dad. And then that was my first exposure to investing. So I've always kind of had something there. When it was COVID, I don't know if anybody, well, probably a lot of people experienced something similar. I started worrying about what would happen to my parents because I was here and they were there. And then obviously then you start spiraling and worrying and then you're like, oh my, like if anything happened, I would literally be, I'm not married, I would be on my own. And it was during COVID that I thought, right, I need to start really taking things seriously, looking after myself. So I taught myself more and more about investments then decided I wanted to leave teaching, started the e-commerce business. So it was a bit like counterintuitive to be investing so much and getting into debt because of the business. But like I said, my journey wasn't linear. So once I'd sorted out the debt situation, like I was still continuing to save and invest. It's just how I managed that period of time. I chose to, because of my own thoughts and beliefs around money, I chose to keep saving while paying off the debt. I didn't want to pay off the debt as quickly as possible. I wanted to have that safety net there. And then, so I paid that off, continuing to invest. And that's when I started this business a couple of years later, I went and got my qualifications in international investment and wealth management so that I could just, kind of increase my knowledge and give people more.
So if somebody wanted to start investing today and they were literally starting from zero, is there a blueprint that you would tell them to follow, or is there any recommendation that you would give?
I think you need to understand the basics first for sure about what it is, what are the different investment options to you. Because when we talk about investments, it's not just the stock market, index funds. You've also got to think investments are properties. Understanding the difference between the different types of investments. If you are investing in the stock market, you need to understand where your money is going. And a lot of people here and in the UK obviously have financial advisors. And, if you want to use a financial advisor because you would prefer someone else to do this for you, that's fine. It will cost you more money in the long run, definitely, because you're paying their fees. And it is something that you can do yourself, but it's just about putting the effort into learning it. But I would 100% recommend doing that because that's a life skill that you can continue. Once you know that knowledge, it's going to carry you through forever and you'll be able to make more informed decisions. But even if someone does have a financial advisor, you need to understand where your money is going and understand what is it you're funding through your investments. So if someone was starting from scratch, I would say learn the fundamentals of investments, understand what your personal risk tolerance is. And when we think about that, it's not just about your personality, it's also about your age and how long you have left to invest and what your individual situation is. And just start to understand, if you are looking in the stock market, what the different terminology means and start from there, really.
Because a lot of people, I think, when they don't know anything about investing, it can feel very daunting.
Yeah, it's a big subject.
Yeah,
it's a big topic.
It can feel, and especially I think for a lot of people, and me included in this, if you don't come from a family that invests, like when I say invest, I don't mean necessarily, what I'm talking about, is index funds. I'm talking about stock markets, things like that. If you come from a place of, or a family or a friendship group that don't speak about those things, and
a lot of people don't as well.
Most people don't. And it's not a common topic for people to speak about. So then all of a sudden when you start thinking, oh, I might start doing that, it can feel very daunting and very just like out of character, unsure for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Can't it?
Definitely. But what I would say to anyone who's listening to this is once you understand it, I promise you, it is not as difficult as you are led to believe. It might sound scary, it might sound difficult, but once you have learned, understood, applied it, it's easy because then you'll just fund the same things and you might get a bit addicted to it. Honestly, I find investing so much easier than saving because once it's in my investment account, it's gone. It's there and I'm not going to take it out. So it's harder to dip into because you're thinking, no, I don't want to take it out. So it's creating that nest egg for yourself over a long period of time. And it's harder to get back out once you've put it in. It's not impossible, obviously, but you just won't want to. So if somebody's listening now and they're thinking, oh, I really want to start saving money, I really want to start investing, I would say the biggest obstacle is learning about it. But once you do it, it's a life skill that is going to work for you for the rest of your life.
Yeah. I feel like as well, it also goes back to a lot of what we talk when we talk about habits. And it's a lot about learning new habits and learning new skills and learning to retrain your brain in the way that you think about money, the way that you speak about money, the way that you show up for money.
Yeah.
I think that a lot of it has that to play as well.
100%. But like for me, for example, I will still sit and then, the week before payday, I'll be like, oh, I'm skint. I'm not skint. I've got investments. But for me, they're so out of sight, out of mind because they're for my pension. We don't have pensions here, right? That's my pension. That's my long term. So yeah, I am skint even though I've got X amount of investments, but that's just a different mentality than I would have had, let's say 10 years ago, where I probably would have been skint and had absolutely nothing.
Yeah. So touching on pensions. So obviously for people who are listening to this and living in Dubai, we don't have pensions. Like
No.
pensions aren't a thing here as they are. I mean, we get gratuity.
And most of the time it wouldn't equate to what you would have put away for a pension.
Yeah, exactly. So obviously when we think about pensions, what would be your advice to somebody to start thinking about pensions, or how to even create something that would equate to what we would get if we were in the UK?
So I think there's a lot of misconceptions around what a pension is.
Yes.
Because it's called a pension. So when you're in the UK, there's the state pension, which you get when you turn a certain number and you get that money paid from the government. We should, depending on what happens in the future, still have access to that if you're living as an expat here and you're continuing to pay your national insurance contributions. It's a whole different topic. But you can go on the government website and see how many years you've got as gaps, and they are changing the amount that we need to pay voluntarily from this year or next year. So yeah, so you can still have access to a state pension when you turn whatever age we need to be by the time we get to that age. We don't know what that will be. But the other type of pension, if I'm talking about people in the UK, is like your workplace pension, where a bit of your salary goes in and the employer matches it. But ultimately what that pension is an investments pot. The good thing about that in the UK is that your employer can pay a percentage towards it. So you're paying a bit from the money you earn and they're paying a bit, and then it's getting put into a pension pot. But that is just getting put into investments so that it grows over time. It's not going to some magical place that no one else can touch. It's just going into investments. So when we're thinking about it from an expat point of view, you've got to think, well, I don't have that, so I need to create my own. And that's where investing comes in. You create your own, that's what you're doing. You're creating your own pension pot. Wherever you allocate that money is down to personal choice. There will be learning involved. And once you've learned it, like I said, it's a skill for life, but it's choosing based on your personality and your risk tolerance where you put that money, and leave it in there to grow over time, so that by the time you do come to retire, if you're in the UK and you can get the state pension, great, but you've also got that personal pension there as well that you've been saving for yourself.
Yeah, because I think going back to what we'd said before about a lot of expats who live here, you come here and you have that mentality of, well, I'm not going to be here for that long and I'm having a good time, and you're going out and you're not really thinking about a pension.
And then it's been 9 years and you're still here.
Yes, exactly. And you've blinked, it's been 9 years, and you think, well, hang on a minute, I don't contribute, let's say, to national insurance. I'm not doing X, Y, and Z. And then all of a sudden we're talking about pensions and you're thinking, well, hang on a minute, what am I going to have to show? So I think that it is a really important topic for people to start talking about, and also just start being aware of making sure that you do have something lined up. Because if you do continue staying here, then you probably are going to be in a position as well where you're not paying income tax. You could absolutely be putting a percentage of your salary away for that. And it's just getting used to doing it.
And it's also like, some people might listen to this and say, well, I actually can't. I actually don't have any disposable. And it depends where that person is at that stage of life, what their priorities are right now. Because if you really did want to do it and you felt ready for it, you could, because you could make sacrifices elsewhere. But some people just aren't ready for that step yet. But it will come, and there'll be a time. I think as you get older, that's when you start to prioritize the future more. Everybody's at a different life stage, and your priorities will shift when you're ready to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. So in this whole process, from being a teacher to then creating your own clothing business, to then stopping that and then creating now your own business in helping women with their finances, and creating now an online business, and also going into recruitment, how has your mindset changed, and what have you done to be able to develop your mindset from where you were to where you are now?
Okay. I overthink everything. I like to do things really, really well. So this has been a constant pushing myself out of my comfort zone for years. I'm working in a new industry with a job I'm doing with the company now, which is completely new, but it's a lot of pressure. I also run my own business. And I think for me, as somebody who likes to be quite a perfectionist, which I know we shouldn't, it's very, very challenging. It's definitely helped me build my resilience, and it's definitely allowed me, I've had to train myself to cut myself some slack and be like, you've only been doing this for a minute. You need to take time to get used to things, adjust to things. I've had stuff going on in my personal life as well, which has added to the stress. But my biggest thing has been, building resilience, growing as a person, and also not caring too much about what people think. Because I think it's quite easy when you're starting a business or starting something new to be scared to post something on social media, or be scared to do this, or worry about what anybody thinks. But you've got to think, well, it's my life, and the people that love me will not say bad things about me, and I don't really care what anybody else has to say about it.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
And you are somebody as well who's recommended like self-help books, for example, that
Yeah.
you have read and listened to. And I know that you've obviously done online courses and things like that as well. So are there any particular books, let's say, that stand out to you that you're like, if you're listening to this now and you are in a similar position to where you were before and they want to progress and start thinking a little bit differently, are there any of your like top books that you would really recommend?
Yeah, so there is an author called Cara Alwill Labour, and she's a woman who, she used to live in New York. I don't know if she does anymore, but she's written quite a few books.
I know which books you mean.
Yeah, Girl on Fire. I can't remember the names of the
Champagne
others.
Diet, is that one?
Yeah, I think that's a podcast.
Oh, okay.
Or maybe she has a book about it as well. But her books were very, very, very inspiring for me, and very much around the mindset. And if you are considering going into entrepreneurship or running a business, if you're looking for maybe not the practicality side of it, but more the inspiration, then her books for sure. And actually, when I read one, I'm just going to tell you this story about going off on a tangent.
No, do.
I read one of her books, and she referenced a woman who lives in the US who had a really inspirational story where she'd gone from being homeless, she had a baby really young, she had a couple of kids, she was divorced, went through this whole, lots of trying times, to running her own successful salon in the US, where she was turning over, multi-millions every year. And I thought, oh, that's really inspiring. So I found her on Instagram, I found her shop, I followed her, and I sent her a message, and I said, oh, I just saw you've been referencing this book. And I'm not an Instagram reach out type person. And she responded to me.
Wow.
And then she was coming here to Dubai for a holiday. So I met her. And then this was when I was starting the fashion business. And she said, why don't you come to this trade show in Vegas? So then the following summer, I went to Vegas by myself to meet this woman off the internet. And we had a great time. And now she's not doing that anymore. She's a massive TikToker now. Like, she has people like Justin Timberlake liking her posts and stuff.
Wow.
Like, she's huge. And she's had an amazing story, and she was really helpful for me. But it just goes to show that just from reading Cara Alwill's book, who knows her, that whole story developed.
Yeah, if you had never have read that book, then you wouldn't have then messaged her and met her and gone to Vegas.
Yeah. So it's just about putting yourself out there and putting yourself into uncomfortable positions. I mean, I am a bit weird sometimes. I like to do spontaneous things. Not everybody might be comfortable with, but it makes life fun. So
I think something like that, though, is so inspiring as well, because you have the common theme throughout this whole story of how you've got to where you are now from where you were is you've just tried.
Yeah.
You've put yourself out there, you've tried, you've given it a go, even by messaging her and then going on a trip, trying with the clothing business and then trying with your own thing. And then you've constantly just been putting yourself out there and giving it a go.
Yeah.
And I think that that's what people need to take from this, is not only the amazing tips that you've given us with money, but it is just giving it a go.
Yeah, just trying. And just think, what's the worst that can happen? I'm not going to die. I'll be all right. And that's just how I look at things sometimes. And it's not like I go through it all easy breezy and everything's all fine and it's sunshine and rainbows. Like, it is hard. But if you really want something, then just give yourself a chance.
And also with that, yeah, it's not always easy, but all of those hard things have taught you so much.
Yeah.
So with every dip, you are learning so much to be able to get you to where you then want to be.
And it's interesting as well, there will always be things that you have to do and steps you need to take. Like, even doing this podcast this morning, this is my first podcast. And throughout the journey, you'll do stuff because you have to do it. So whether it is delivering a presentation, doing a podcast, starting a business, whatever, posting on Instagram, your level of resistance reduces as the journey goes on, because you're thinking, well, if I could do that, then I can do this. So things that were very hard for you at the start become less difficult, and then people will start commenting on it. So your friends and family will say, I can't believe you did that. And you're like at a point then where you're thinking, oh, that was easy actually, because it was nothing compared to this. So you definitely grow as a person, and your like getting out of your comfort zone, it shapes you into a new version of yourself.
The one that you want to be.
Yeah.
Oh, I've loved that. So last thing then, if someone has been avoiding looking at their finances and they are like just scared about money, they have a negative relationship with money, let's say, what is the one thing that you would tell them to do today?
I would say, like we mentioned earlier, try and make it an enjoyable experience. You don't have to tell anybody. You don't need to make it into a big thing. Just face head on the thing that is scaring you the most, whether it is looking at where you're spending your money. And this is one of the first things I tell people to do. Look at the last 3 months where you've been spending so you can categorize it: clothes, going out, travel, whatever. And just have a look at, realistically how much money you're spending in those categories. And then once you've done that, and you've done the last 3 months, just sit and think, does this align with who I am? Or is it aligning with what I think other people think I should be doing? And that's a really good starting point, because this is where a lot of my clients get a big eye opener, where they're like, oh, I actually didn't know I was spending that much money on eating at restaurants, and I actually don't really care about doing that. I'd rather spend on holidays. So I would say that's a really good first action to take, which will definitely make you pivot if you need to. And if it's something like debt, look at your interest rate, look at your balance, and then figure it out from there. Like how much do you need to pay off by have it paid off in 12 months or 24 months, and give yourself some grace, forgive it, and then put that plan in action.
Thank you so much. I feel like I've learned so much as well, even through this episode. And I just think that there's so many people that are going to benefit from this.
No, I hope so.
If there are any women specifically listening that want to join your Savvy Circle, how can they do that?
So I'm on Instagram at the Money Savvy Expat. I've got a website as well, so they can have a look at. It's all linked in the bio, so they can have a look at what it's all about. You can book a 15-minute free discovery call to chat about it, or DM me. Happy to help anybody who's got any questions.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much. I've absolutely loved this conversation.
No, thank you for having me.
And I hope that everybody has found something really valuable and has been taking notes. If I was listening to this, I would absolutely have been taking notes throughout it, because I think, so many amazing.
I can't remember what I've said now, because I've been
you said so much. I know we haven't even paused this once. Yeah. It's been good. We've just flowed through the whole thing. So if you want to find Natalie on Instagram, she has just said her Instagram handle. I will put it down below as well. And any of the other links that are important from this episode will be down below. Thank you so much for listening or watching, and we will see you next week. Bye.